All right, hello. Hopefully everyone's doing all right out there in the world. Yeah, so I want to talk about obviously the Iran War, which in my opinion is now World War III. Yeah, I think it's a you know watershed moment in our life, and I do think maps will be redrawn when this is all done, and yeah, the world is going to look pretty different when this is all done. So I want to talk about why we're at the war, right? Why did we start this war? And so we're just gonna run through a bunch of videos of basically, public officials, Trump, Marco Rubio, a couple senators, talking about let's try to make sense of it. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. All right, so this is one of Trump's.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. So I think I was right about that. We attacked first. And if we didn't, it could have been, look, we're really decimating them. They're being decimated. And if we didn't, and by the way, we have massive amounts of ammunition.
Okay, so there's a lot of reporting that there was no imminent threat. There's none, right? So he's just saying a gut feeling. Okay, basically he's saying gut feeling. Okay, let's try next on.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the alternative, face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered, don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
This is basically regime change. He's saying, it's for the good of the Iranian people. But does anyone appreciate their government being bombed? Is anyone really saying thank you, Donald Trump, for bombing the shit out of our country? I really don't think that's happening. I think the bombs are coalescing Iran. They're making them more cohesive society. They're basically rallying around the flag. Nobody in Iran is really trying to overthrow the government. Yes, there were some celebrations that Khomeini was assassinated, but there's a whole lot more showing that he's a popular figure, right? Khomeini was he's basically like the Pope, right? Imagine if the Pope was assassinated tomorrow. Yes, there would be some people celebrating this. Yes. But most of Catholics would be really pissed, right? So most of Shia Islam is pretty pissed. Okay. All right, let's try the next.
Well, we haven't made a final decision. We're not exactly happy with the way they're negotiating. They cannot have nuclear weapons, and we're not thrilled with the way they're negotiating. So we'll see how it all works. It'd be wonderful if they negotiate really in good conscience, good faith and conscience, but they are not getting there. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nothing close. I'd love not to use it, but sometimes you have.
So Iran was pretty clear they were not trying to get a nuclear bomb. For years, they've said we don't want a nuclear bomb. There's a famous fatwa from Khomeini where he said this is a policy. We're not gonna go get a bomb. And by the way, multiple times the U.S. He's saying they weren't negotiating in good conscience. Twice the United States was negotiating with them, and then they bombed them in the middle of negotiations. That's not negotiating. That's the opposite. That's treachery. That's Donald Trump. And the United States has done that multiple times. They did that to Hamas, where they're negotiating, and then they bomb people in the middle of negotiations. Or at least I know there's Israelis did as well. But I think there's other examples of the United States basically pulling the wool out of people that are negotiating in good faith. So he has no standing, in my opinion, to say that they're not negotiating in good faith. This next clip, I think, is really why we're in this shitstorm.
Is there a risk that
could turn into a long, drawn-out conflict in the Middle East?
I guess you can say there's always a risk. When there's war, there's a risk in anything, both good and bad. We've had tremendous luck with myself, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. Everything's worked out, and then we do the Midnight Hammer and so many others. Everything's worked out, and we want to keep it that way. But we're going to see. Look, it'd be wonderful if they negotiate really in good conscience, good faith and conscience, but they are not getting there. So far, Peter, they're not getting there.
And has your team told you that if you use the military now, that there will be regime change right away?
No, nobody's told me that. You don't know. I mean, nobody knows. There might be, and there might not be. It'd be nice if we could do it without. But
So he basically laid it out right there, right? He said, Soleimani, they assassinated Soleimani, the Midnight Hammer, they kidnapped Maduro. So these were 3 military operations he basically got away with, right? He was like, so he was thinking it'd be another one where, and then the reporter asked him, okay, well, are you going to get regime change? And to Trump's credit, okay, he said, well, we don't know. But he did think, I mean, he's spelling it out right there. He thought, oh, this would be an easy win. We just bomb the shit out of him for a couple of days, and then that's it. We'll have a new Iran, and Israel will be happy, and he'll get another notch on his bedpost. But it's turned into a big shitstorm. This, I think, is little Marco Rubio. He's going to win game here.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
So that's little Marco Rubio, and I don't mean his stature, I mean his intellect. Little Marco Rubio, he's basically saying, the Israelis were going to attack. This is all over, and he's going to walk. I'm going to show you a video of him walking it back. He put his foot in his mouth here. But Mike Johnson says the exact same thing. We'll show you that clip in a second. But let's watch him walking it back, and the truth is in here somewhere.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked
okay.
the question.
No, were you the one that? Because somebody.
We have it on film, little Marco. He's acting like she's stupid.
He asked me a question. He said, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that, you from that follow-up. And I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. If you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
No, we heard you correctly, Marco. He's hinting too at basically what Israel realized in the 12-day war. I've been glued to the news ever since this war started, 9 days ago. Basically Israel realized that Iran has a tactical advantage with these mid-range missiles. Like they've got them. It's the same. Like you ever watch a war movie, and when the artillery zeroes in your position, you're like, oh fuck, we're screwed. We got to get out of here, right? That's basically what Iran has done to Israel, right? They've got their artillery, rockets, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles. They've got all this weaponry pointed at Israel. Let's talk about Mike Johnson. So he's going to basically agree with Marco Rubio before he walked it back.
Points that I just want to emphasize, the non-classified summary of what has happened here. First of all, to me, the most critical point is that this was a defensive measure, a defensive operation. And why is that? I took some notes, and this is not classified, so I'll tell you what I think is important. Israel was determined to act in their own defense here, with or without American support. Why? Because Israel faced what they deemed to be an existential threat. Iran was building missiles at a rapid clip, to the point where our allies in the region could not keep up. As you know, Iran has long vowed to take out Israel, wipe it off the map, and they have long seen that as a critical threat to their very existence. Because Israel was determined to act, with or without the U.S., our commander-in-chief and the administration and the officials I just named had a very difficult decision to make. they had to evaluate the threats to the U.S., to our troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond. And they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets. We have troops in harm's way, and we have many Americans in the region, and that was of great concern. If we had waited for all of those eventualities.
So think about, let's dissect what he just said. So Israel's going to attack. So he's trying to frame this as, okay, this is defensive, right? We're defending ourselves in that, well, if Israel attacks Iran, then Iran will defend itself and attack back. Like, of course they're going to attack back, right? So this is a load of horseshit that he's saying, oh, it's defensive. No, Israel, the United States, we attacked first. This was and people are saying there's a war of choice. No, there's a war of aggression. Okay, we attacked first. Like I said earlier, Iran has the tactical advantage over Israel right now with these ballistic missiles and the drones. We haven't talked about the drones yet. So yeah, I still don't see how this is a defensive war.
To take place, the consequences of inaction on our part could have been devastating. We don't know at what magnitude, but you can assume, because it is common sense, that if Iran had begun to fire all of their missile arsenal, short and mid-range missiles, at our personnel and our assets and our installations, we would have suffered staggering losses. And if we had waited to respond before acting first, then those losses would have been far greater than if we had done what we did.
So Israel forced their hand. I mean, he's flat out saying it, same as Marco Rubio. And I mean, it shouldn't. Everyone should be livid that a foreign country is basically dictating our foreign policy. And we'll talk. I'll talk later about what damage, how's the war going. But effectively, our empire is committing seppuku, for Israel, and I don't see another way to describe it. Right? My view of the situation. Let's see what Hexeth has to say.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime.
Wait, I thought it was regime change. Now it's not regime change. Okay.
Sure did change, and the world is better off for it. The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser focused. Destroy Iranian offensive missiles, destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons.
Okay, so destroy their missile capability, their infrastructure, and then their navy. Now, Iran's navy is not really part of their plan, right? Iran was very smart. They were very savvy. They knew they could not compete with the United States for regards to their navy, right? They couldn't compete with the United States in their air force, right? So they didn't try. So what Iran did was they played a game. They're playing a game that they can win, right? This is Sun Tzu, basically. They can, with drones and rockets, missiles, they can devastate the military or any threats near them, right? And we're seeing this all the time, every day. Let's ask the energy secretary. What's going on here?
Yeah, the plan is to get oil and natural gas and fertilizer and all the products from the Gulf flowing through the straits before too long.
So I thought that wasn't a problem a week and a half ago. Now it's an objective. Anyway, let's keep moving.
And I may break a little news here, but one large tanker has already gone through the straits with no issues at all.
So Iran notice he doesn't say which tanker it is. Iran has said Russia and China, they're not going to fire a Russia and China tanker. So I don't know if that was a Chinese tanker that sailed through. Not sure yet, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's a U.S. tanker that passed through. One tanker in a week and a half.
As the general just described, we're massively attriting their ability to strike with missiles and drones, and that rate of attrition will increase in the coming days.
So there he's full of shit. So Iran has stated last night, today, that basically they've pretty much taken out the U.S. and Israel's defensive capabilities, right? The launchers, the David Sling and the THAAD and the Patriot missiles. Those are pretty much depleted, they're ineffective even if they do have more of these missiles. My understanding is they have about a 6%, 5% hit rate, which is almost nothing. So Iran said they're going to increase. I recommend everyone go on X. I think that's the best place to see these videos. Here, I can just show. Well, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, I'll show you all later what the damage or how the war is going. But yeah, he's just talking out of his ass here.
So we'll be cautious, we'll be careful, but energy will flow soon. It's one of the reasons the president had to move on this war. Iran has just terrorized America, the neighborhood, and energy markets for 47 years.
Can anyone give an example? Anyone out there of Iran terrorizing the United States? Like we are constantly terrorizing the Middle East. I just heard a clip from John Mearsheimer. I didn't have it, but just in the last, like, I think 50 years, with sanctions, wars, the United States is guilty of maybe about 35 million deaths just in the whole Middle East last 50 years. So yeah, I don't know. Nobody gives any examples of Iran terrorizing. They just use these talking points over and over again. So here's I think why this is why we really are in the war. It's my opinion, and it's a lot of other people's opinions. So,
and I'll give you a very graphic example of that. This is what came up today from one NCO, non-commissioned officer out in the field, fairly senior NCO. This morning, our commander opened up the combat, this morning being yesterday morning, our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us not to be afraid as to what is happening with our combat operations in Iran right now. He urged us to tell our troops that this was, quote, all part of God's divine plan, unquote. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said that, quote, President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth, end of quote. Our ambassador in Jerusalem would agree with that.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, a lot of Christians, there's more and more reports agreeing with what Larry just said. But yeah, I mean, there's a big contingent of Christians that believe this is Armageddon. They want to start Armageddon so that Jesus comes. And I used to be one of them myself. And I think now it is a death cult. It's a crazy death cult. And not all Christians are like that, but a lot are. And yeah, I mean, they're thinking this is Armageddon. They're starting it intentionally. I'll show later. There's patches of the Greater Israel Project. A lot of these IDF soldiers are wearing, or they're wearing a temple, the third temple patch. This is not a crazy conspiracy theory. I mean, it's out in the open. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I'd be crazy for saying this, but now you can Google it. Just Google Greater Israel patch. It'll pop up on Google. So yeah, that's the situation that we've got ourselves into. I'm thinking this is a shit drift. Like, you step in a snow drift and it's a lot deeper than you thought. I think Trump stepped in a shit drift, and this ain't going away anytime soon. Iran, again, I've been glued to the news, gobbling up as much information as I can. Iran has been clear, like they want the United States out of the Middle East. They're there to eject us from the Middle East, and they don't want to. The United States has been bullying Iran, right? We've been sanctioning them. We've been trying to destabilize their country. I mean, just a couple months ago, that's what that was. All those protests. We devalued their currency. There's a lot of, and anyone out there, whatever I'm saying, please fact check me. Find the truth out for yourself, right? I'm just kind of sharing what I've learned over the past few months, and like I said, I've been gobbling up as much information as possible. But just in the last few months, the United States and Israel, I don't understand how that works, but they devalued Iran's currency. There was a lot of protests within Iran. The government was actually, okay, you know what? You're right, to the protesters. We're going to try to fix this. And then Israel, Mossad, they sent in a bunch of, basically agitators to foment discord, to foment chaos, right? And these people that are in charge, that's really what they want, is chaos. So Iran was able to squash all that before the United States attacked. And they were probably going to attack sooner. But because Iran was so quickly able to squash these basically Mossad agents, and Mossad bragged about it. This is not a crazy conspiracy theory. They openly bragged about it. So all that is to say is the United States and Israel is an existential threat to Iran, right? Iran, like the very existence of Iran is threatened by what the United States and Israel is doing. That's what that means by being an existential threat. So Iran is basically at the point where, just like with the Russian Ukraine war, we being the United States, we kept poking the bear. Well, eventually the bear's going to fight back. And this is the shitstorm that we're in. We're watching the bear fight back. And, my opinion is this is the end of the American empire, or at least this will be ejected from the Middle East. I don't see a way around it. I mean, these drones, I'll talk about it tomorrow, but these drones are just endless. And take all the missiles out of it. Take all the missiles. Say Iran doesn't have any of these missiles. Just these little simple Shahed drones. They can swarm the Middle East. I think they can make about 400 per day. So these are just 400 bombs that they can deploy, and you can basically make these drones in your garage. Obviously, I'm not going to, but yeah, I mean, there's no any little tiny warehouse. They have a whole network to just crank out these drones. There's no way you can bomb the whole shit out of the country, carpet bomb the whole country. You're not going to get rid of these drones, much less the missile capability that they have, which is quite advanced. So all that's to say is, yeah, I think people, I always try to live or end what I'm saying on kind of a empowering note, right? I think we should, yes, things are dire for the world, I think, worse than they've ever been. But I think the way to combat this is, like basically what I say all the time is we have to just make the world around us a little bit better. And, I would suggest just one thing: call a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time. Call a friend, a buddy from college, high school, and tell them you love them. Just something simple like that. Like, the more connected we are to the world, the better we're all going to be. And I'm 100% sure that person will be really happy you reached out to them. I guarantee it's 100% positive experience, and you won't regret it. Maybe you'll make a renewed friend. And yeah, so stay safe out there. Peace.